Welcome to Inspired Learning, the Path of Exile podcast with Badger and Yoji. My name is Badger.
I'm Yoji.
And we are joined by the man himself, Balormage, for this podcast, who does host his own podcast with Catmaster OP, but now we've stolen him for this very juicy episode. How are you doing, Bella?
Slightly tired still, but...
Yeah, what time is it right there for you as we're doing this live?
5 a.m.
5 a.m. Yeah, that's an hour behind where it is here. So I think that's the earliest podcast guest that we've had on. So yeah, it's pretty early.
That's true. Yeah, for Ziggy we were actually able to postpone a bit, but I got super early work tomorrow, so yep.
Yeah, we couldn't postpone for you, Bella.
You
yeah,
know, I think this is league start time.
Yeah, it actually is. So we're prepping.
Acclimatizing me to the league start 2 days early, which is actually pretty good. Which is why I was there's no complaints about that, because that's just, if I wake up here, then I'm getting used to that. In 2 days' time, I got to be awake 2 hours earlier than this. So,
to get ready for that league start. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Talking of the league start and the league announcement, we have a way too massive episode. It's probably going to be the biggest episode in terms of the content that we're going to try and cover in this episode, and we have a maximum of 2 hours today.
Yep.
So we're just gonna dive right into it. Well, what do we want to initially talk about here? The announcement, the actual announcement, and the initial thoughts that we had from the announcement of Echoes of the Atlas and Ritual League. What were your
rough impression
gut
that we went into all of this? Yeah, that would be kind of cool.
There are many clips of me dancing and jumping up and down while the reveal went on.
Nice.
I think this is the most POG reveal we've had in at least a very long time.
I had the same feeling from the reveal that I actually did live at ExileCon, like that same hype. Pretty much like that. It was a pretty insane reveal. A lot that they've promised, and a lot that seems like it's going to be delivered, and a lot that might not. But that's what we'll talk about today as well. But Yoji, what did you think?
I'm pretty much on the same page. It's I mean, I only watched ExileCon as a stream, and it was basically like the same, not the same like length, of course, and there was not as much content, but there was like the presentation was really good. I think like how the whole thing was put together was pretty good. The Q&A after like the reveal and how the reveal was structured was really, really good. I think like they should definitely try and do something similar to this on at least every like expansion they do. Maybe not on every small league. I don't know if it can work on like every small league, but on an expansion,
Yeah. I hope that going forward they have the same kind of release schedule. I don't know, the live stream was a really good way of doing it. I felt it helped build that tension and everything like that towards that league release. What did you guys feel about the new change to the live stream format?
Oh, that's way better. Come on, that was way better.
It was way better.
Yep.
That was way better. And also free content. React Andy, let's go.
Yeah. It was really
good.
It
was like maximum React Andy, but it was really cool. Like everyone was allowed to restream it. The way they handled the drops, that every restream also, if you connect, could give you drops. Yeah. I think they couldn't have handled it better. I think that the whole setup was just really awesome for everyone in the community. Like every streamer could like watch it with their community and experience it with other people. That was really, really cool.
Yeah, it was amazing. It was such a good vibe to just be around the Path of Exile subcategory in Twitch at that time. Just like even right before I went live and started looking, I was just like jumping through everyone. Everyone was so hyped. Everyone was getting ready for the reveal. It was a lot of fun. But then the actual content came through. And well, the initial reactions from the actual announcements of what Echoes of the Atlas was. Let's talk about the Atlas expansion first, I reckon, because that's obviously the biggest thing. That's an expansion, happens once a year. What is happening there in your minds?
I think like for Atlas expansions, like new stuff to do in endgame for me is always like a huge plus. Because I've like after a year, the Conquerors, just doing the Conquerors for me was just like kind of not enough anymore. I was like, okay, yeah, new boss fight, like endgame boss fight, always awesome. Atlas passive trees, like new stuff to do with the Atlas. Generally a plus, like even if you maybe like don't agree with like some things they might be doing, I think just having like new ways to experiment and like to fine tune your mapping experience, I think is always cool. And also the like 10 bosses fight looks kind of like you can have a lot of fun with that, at least for a while.
I'm so excited. To die a lot is what I should say, but then...
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, I'm going to say 95% happy with the new Atlas stuff.
Yeah.
That's pretty good, though.
Yeah.
There's one thing in particular that I was really hoping would happen with an Atlas rework that hasn't happened. And I think it's going to make us get bored of this new Atlas way quicker than we normally do. And the thing that I don't like about the current Atlas, the one we've been running with forever, is that every single league, no matter what they do, it's the exact same Atlas. They shuffle everything around, but it doesn't matter because we control the tier of all of the maps. The maps all come up to 14 to 16, which means no matter what they do, no matter how many times they shuffle it, it's functionally the exact same map. If I only want to run Burial Chambers, I just run Burial Chambers every league.
Yeah, that's true.
Because
but...
they've given us infinite choice, but there's always going to be a best option. And if you give every map the ability to be at practically any tier, the illusion of choice is really gone. There's just some good options, and they're the same ones every single league. That problem stays with the new Atlas, which is a bit.
That's true.
I do understand what you're saying. Yeah, like for example, a lot of people have already decided their Atlas strategy, I guess is a good way to put it, in terms of what we've been, what's been revealed of the Atlas skill tree points. You know, there are some that are just better than others, and there are some that are in very good zones as well to juice up certain maps. So and it looks like that's just going to be the meta already, which is a little bit disappointing to kind of see that. Although I'm sure there's going to be lots of interesting things that come through. I'm really interested to see what that what is it? The Val Merchant. The Val Blood Merchant or something?
The Flesh Merchant. Like, what? That sounds like really weird to me. What's a Flesh Merchant?
I mean, it's very weird.
Obviously, it's a Val hooker. That's...
All right. But, I mean...
I'm kind of hoping that those skill trees mitigate my current problem with the Atlas, which is really my only one. I mean, Cirrus is a bit boring because they've dumbed it down now and I've played it a lot, but it's not that bad. I don't think it's as bad as people make it out to be. And I don't find the Conquerors that boring because they're pretty quick and they drop gems. So I don't really have any problem with any of that except the like staleness of maps. So I really hope that this passive tree will mitigate that problem by being like, this zone and this zone are really, really pog. This is where I want to hang out.
Yeah.
And some people are going to be like, oh, why are these two zones so much better than others? But my thought is, but now if they shuffle the Atlas every league, I'm going to be wanting to try and find new maps to run because I'm going to want to stay in these regions and they all get shuffled around. And then at least every 3 months, I can be like, ooh, one of my maps going to be this league rather than just knowing before they even show me.
That's true. They could also theoretically shuffle around like some of the passives if they like want in the future as well. They could be like, okay, like maybe we put too much of the good stuff there, so let's take this branch out, put it over here, and just change it out with this one. And also like another wildcard I think we have this league is, or like this patch is 11 new maps. Like we don't know, maybe some of them are so amazing that we suddenly want to run them.
Yeah,
that could
really
be a thing.
So.
Of course, next week we will know them already, but at least also they look really good. Just like visually, I'm like super excited to at least run them once. Maybe twice for the Awakening bonus.
Baby. Yeah. Yeah, no, they put a lot. Well, from what we can see, and I'm pretty sure they put a lot of effort into those assets that are coming through in those new maps. I was just going to quickly jump back and then a little bit forward as well to what Balor was talking about, the Atlas skill trees as well. It's really interesting what's happening, the expansion with Path of Exile, because, you know, we've always had buffs and nerfs to builds and the passive tree itself. And now we've got this extra level of buffs and nerfs that will be happening to our actual Atlas. which is really interesting. It's I guess kind of more balance that might be coming through from GGG, so it's a little bit more effort there. It's not going to be as much, but it's this next aspect of things that can be changing from league to league, which will hopefully bring more variation to our mapping experience and everything like that. I hope it's not just like follow the best node every league, like follow Beyond every league or follow Delirium every league, to whatever zone has the best stats for that. We'll see, but yeah, interesting.
Yeah, I think like some of the combinations that people already came up with, like from what you can do with the nodes, like as Balor just typed in chat, like for example the Torment one, at first we were like, I guess okay, whatever, tormented spirits, but there's a sextant that lets every tormented monster up to like a cap drop scarabs, and that's
oh yeah
that's
pretty good.
You hit that sextant and you can move that watchstone into the right zone, and suddenly you've got 30 new scarabs in 3 maps, because you get 10 from every map. Like boom,
but if you use but the craftable watchstones that we will get, they are region specific, right? So you can't move those to every region.
So here's the thing, they didn't say that, but they are
named.
named.
It sounds like this. No, they said they're like, wasn't there an FAQ point where it's like, are they region specific? And
I didn't read that. I could be wrong. I'm happy to be wrong, but they are named, so that leads me to believe that they are anyway.
Yeah, they also have the symbol.
They've got the symbols on them, so the symbols of each of the Atlas regions, which is a bit interesting.
I'm pretty sure that's said in the QA, and chat seems to agree as well. So
yeah,
so that,
chat's always right.
So if you roll that awesome thing on one of the craftable watchstones, and not in the region that you
move it.
Yeah, but if you roll it on a quest watchstone, you can put it anywhere. So there would be still some incentive to put like a quest watchstone sometimes, maybe even. But it's
the
difficult.
Flexible watchstones.
I think at some point you really want to have the non-flexible ones everywhere, because they always have a modifier that's good.
I'll almost certainly use uniques still for at least 1 or 2 of them.
Yeah, that's true.
Some of those uniques are too powerful, but it may be that instead of having to buy 850 unique watchstones every league, maybe I only have to buy 200 and I can have some crafted ones in the other slot. So that'll be nice.
It really depends on what mods can actually roll, and like how much synergy you can get out of those, if they are like better or not. I mean, maybe there are some like high tier, super rare mods that are really crazy on those, but like really low weighting or something. But that's mostly alteration spamming, because you can't make them rare, right?
Yeah, I think they're just magic. I think. Well, actually, that's all we've seen, right?
They're like flasks.
We only saw magic ones.
Yeah. I think Chris said they are only magic.
Okay. If he said that,
he said like flasks. He said so. Yeah.
One thing that I do want to mention right now that just popped into my head, because I'm sure there's probably a few people in chat as well, or might be listening after the fact or watching. We kind of dived right deep into all of know the mechanics and everything like that of this league, because it is so mechanically heavy, especially like the Atlas and everything like that. But how do you guys feel about new players coming into this game, or maybe into your second league or something like that? All you've known is one league of the last Atlas. What? I think it's too much. Like, I love all of these additions, I really do. But like, I've had a lot of people saying to me, like, I don't know how to tackle this league. I don't know what I'm going to do. What are your thoughts?
It's always been the case. Just my very short answer to this.
Yeah. But like this even more, right?
I mean, it's even more for us because we're used to all the other stuff.
Yeah.
But as a brand new player, when you come in, you're incredibly overwhelmed, and adding one new thing just leaves you incredibly overwhelmed and makes no difference.
Yep. I think having 1,000 things, you're like, okay, what the hell is this? Or 1,005 things where you're like, okay, what the hell is this? I don't think it makes a difference.
Yeah.
Plus, like, this super endgame stuff won't affect you till like you've been through the campaign and made a build that can actually get there, which is probably quite a few hours.
What about the people that have just finally understood the endgame of our current Atlas? Or
get used to
just
it.
Understood. I was waiting for that. I was trying to bait that out. There it is. Yeah.
This is going to keep happening. I've been playing this game for a while. If you ever get to a point where you think you understand everything about even one corner of PoE, prepare for them to change that on you, because that's just the game.
It's PoE, yes.
They'll just be like, oh, everyone's getting a really good handle on this now. Change it all.
Oh, yeah.
Which is good. I think that lets the game keep fresh.
Oh yeah, definitely.
I'll tell you what, there's going to be a lot of work this league on my Atlas guide, because right now I have what I think is the best version of an Atlas guide, at least the best written one that exists.
Oh yes, that's the one I recommend to people. So
it's pretty darn good, man.
And it's going to need a whole. I'm thinking about making an entire separate page to cover the new stuff, rather than trying to move it in
to put it in
current one, because that is like it. I think it's too much, and they said that we're gonna have to experience it, but they said that they're separate systems that you could choose to ignore one and do the other. They could happen at the same time. So I think maybe it just has to end up being a completely separate page as we learn how to do it.
I think maybe there's some room for interactions between the two, where there's some synergy that you can use, but that's probably a paragraph or one section. Yeah, I think it probably makes sense to have them separate. Yeah, but yeah, I think that will be a lot of extra stuff to cover with how the bossing progression works, what bosses to catch, and all that kind of stuff.
How forced do you reckon it will be upon us while mapping? How passive in terms of the gameplay? Because, with Conqueror's expansion and that sort of thing, it's, that was the whole expansion that was added on. And, you still had to do quite a bit of active thinking to get that progression of all of the Watchstones, but there was still some passive gameplay to it. How passive do you reckon
don't we have to
Echoes
call
is going to be?
There's a button on the map device. If you don't call it, nothing happens. So you get the initial proc that makes it show up, and you could ignore it after that. That's it.
Yeah, I think so.
That's what it seems like. Yeah, I mean, this patch, why would you? Because it's obviously the new stuff. But if you after this league, you decide, okay, that's really not the type of content I enjoy. I just want to blast maps and not care about bosses and whatnot. It seems like you can just be I'm just not going to press that shiny thing, and I'm back to old Atlas.
Or it could be that you really love one region, but you just don't care about the others. You can just be I'll just progress it whenever I'm there, and then just ignore it whenever you're not.
Yeah,
could be.
Which could be. It could help newer players in the game getting into it. But what I'll actually say though is just try the content. If you're feeling overwhelmed about Path of Exile and you're listening to this podcast right now and you're like, "What the heck is happening?" Just dive headfirst into the content and go for it. It's going to be fun. It's going to be messy, but it's the best way that you're going to learn. Don't just put it off, because I'm sure it'll be fun.
To expand on that very slightly, as far as I can tell, no matter what content it is you like that's in those passive trees, if you spec into it, you will do it more and make more money out of it. There is not a single thing in there that I can see that's not profitable, where you would lose money by speccing into it. There's
it's totally free.
Certainly going to be a better one. There's going to be, these are the best. This is, these are the top 3 or whatever. But no matter what one you go with, you will be making more profit and doing those encounters more. So unless you're profit driven like I am, which is not the way you should play. But unless you're profit driven, I'm really suggesting people just be whatever the thing you enjoy is, just spec into it. Don't worry about what people say. Just do that, the thing that you're having fun with.
Super good point. We might talk quite a lot this podcast about what we think is our favorites, what we think is maybe the most profitable or best for solo self-found, but that is a really good kind of header to put on all of this. This Atlas is going to be really fun, and the most fun if you do just spec into what you want to spec into and play around with it. It's just going to be an expansion to Path of Exile, and it's all free apart from respecking it. But
there will be some
part,
quest related respec points. So even if you're afraid to mess something up, I think in current PoE there's not that much irreversible mess up as they used to be. There's some things that have a cost attached to the changing it, but for the most part you can just go in and just run the content you enjoy. There are also some things that make content actually easier. There's one that makes breaking all open legions easier. There's one that makes delirium dissipate slower. But there are also some ones that can kill you. So if you read something like Metamorphs deal 50% more damage, and you think that might wreck your character, it probably will. So there are some things I would be a bit mindful about speccing into. Or what is it, like Delirium Fog? Like the difficulty ramps up and the rewards ramp up like 50% faster as you go away from the mirror. I think that one, a lot of people would be like, yeah, nice, more rewards, but that is a lot of difficulty.
That'll be deadly. It'll be deadly. Yeah.
I'm gonna tick that button. That's
yep.
Yeah,
but I mean, fully prepared.
You will have hopefully have a build,
yeah,
exactly. But if you're like, okay, I'm like this SSF, like self-cast Firestorm, Deadeye over here, and you just back into like this node, I don't think you're going to get anywhere when you walk through a mirror.
For the hardcore gamers among us, I think we're all probably going to be playing softcore, right? I think I've decided on softcore this league. What are you guys thinking?
Yeah.
Yep, I'm going SSF. That's decided,
SSF,
but
yeah.
softcore SSF, yeah.
Yeah, but I was looking at a lot of this kind of stuff, and especially we know almost nothing about the Maven fight itself, and you know we've got 10 boss fights, well 3, 4, 5, 6, and then 10 tier 16 map boss fights and everything like that. It's normal for every expansion to be more and more deadly. That's what we've seen, but I do think this is going to be the deadliest Path of Exile expansion that we have had. Yeah, I don't know. Are we going to see a lot of rip clips? What do you guys think?
Yeah.
Yep. I mean, we have like a new, basically Cirrus or Uber level boss fight, right? At least once people get to that. Or 10 bosses or whatever. Like, there's so much you can die to.
Yeah.
So I remember the whole story about Uber Elder going to be implemented with a bullet hell phase as well, right? And then they took that out right before release. But I'm hoping, what I'm hoping for is Maven fight, they didn't go like, nah, they won't be able to do this. Let's take it out. I really hope they piled it. Yeah.
Just leave it. Just leave it.
I mean, they haven't shown us or told us anything about the Maven fight, except that it's like end game highest tier boss level. That's like the only thing, right?
They've said that it's, in terms of to spawn Maven, it's about the same kind of difficulty or time of Uber Elder. But I don't, and that's to spawn it, not the actual fight. We haven't heard anything about the difficulty of the fight itself.
I think it said something on the teaser to like something to challenge like the highest level of PoE like players and or best builds, whatever. Like it sounds like it's at least like around like Cirrus, maybe not Awakening 8, but like 6, 7, something like this, which is a lot easier than 8.
I see that, but I hope that it's a lot more dangerous than that. I really, really want that. As like personally as well, I want a boss fight that I'm gonna bash my head against for 5 days at the start of League and not be able to do it. You know, like I want that.
I would like it to feel as hard as Uber Elder did when it came out, not as hard as Cirrus was when it came out. Because like when Cirrus came out, it wasn't that hard and didn't take me very long to learn. And then since then, they've significantly nerfed it into like a shell of nothing, where I sometimes have more problems with the Conquerors, especially that poison one. But anyway, yeah, I want this to be like a... They did so many good boss fights. Shaper was so hard when it first came out back then.
That was such a good fight back then,
If we've got people around that weren't around when Shaper came out, Shaper seems like a relatively easy fight now. Like he doesn't do that much damage.
Yeah.
He's just mechanically rather simple and easy to dodge stuff. But that's because like we all know it so well. There's a million videos out on it. We've done it a billion times. We've had like a million power creeps since then. But like when it came out, it was a hard fight.
Yeah.
And then Elder was difficult, and then Uber Elder was difficult, and Cirrus is the only one that sort of let me down a little in difficulty level. Like, I still like it, but it's so much easier compared to where the rest of them were when they all came out. So
the difficulty for me with Cirrus was mainly figuring out what the hell to do, because I went in blind and wanted to figure it out. And like the first 4 fights, I just didn't even know like what the hell to do because it's so unintuitive. While Uber Elder was pretty clear what to do. They have two dudes attacking you with skills you know, and you have to kill them both. And sometimes they go invincible, and that's like all there is to know.
Yeah.
Yeah. yeah, it's gonna be. Well, I hope it's gonna be that kind of. Well, as you're saying, like Shaper, very difficult when it first comes out, but I hope it's a really mechanical fight where you can learn the patterns, and if you're quite skillful and have practiced a lot with the fight, you can do it quite well and you can get very good at it. But I want that to be take a long time to do. I'm saying this stuff as a player. It's pretty difficult to make a really good boss fight. It is. So we'll see.
I mean, it's pretty difficult. I'm glad I don't have to develop the game at all.
Oh, yeah. I'm glad I'm just playing it.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna play the game. That way I get to complain about the things that I don't like without having any fucking clue what goes into developing. I don't even want to know. That's too much work.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yep, I have like huge respect for anyone. Like even like how do they come up with all this stuff? Like honestly, there's like so much stuff. Also like some balancing stuff. I mean, I would think like some of the balancing stuff is a little easier to come up with sometimes than like just by playing so much. But like actually making up like new content, being like, okay, let's add passive trees to this and like sockets to that, and like this type of jewel, this type of craftable watchstone. Like how do they come up with all these ideas? Like
in Harvest, well, like Chris just said in the Ziggy D Harvest interview, they come up with it all at barbecues. Just just cooking some sausages and yeah.
One of the ones they said they did when we were at the Jonathan's house, they were explaining something, and one of the things that they did said they picked a year. One of the things they did once, they just picked a year. I forget what the year was. And then they just started looking up game releases and books and stuff that were released on that year and just going through them for ideas that they could use.
Yeah.
I was like, okay.
I guess, yeah.
I mean, that kind of makes sense. Like, if you have like so much content already in the game, just having like prompts to give you like some ideas, like by association, that's probably a really smart way to just come up with a lot of stuff that you then like filter out all the bad ideas.
Yeah,
that's
it's
like
just it's researching, but in a narrow focus and that sort of thing. Just trying to get ideas, but if you're just like, okay, I'm gonna go to the internet and search ideas for games. You're not gonna get much, but if you search specifically for things in certain areas, yeah, it makes sense. But like no, yeah, I really do appreciate all of the effort that has been put into the ideas and themes behind this Echoes of the Atlas, and then we started getting all of the information, the detailed information about this league. What was the first release that we got of actual information? It was the Atlas stuff, right?
Atlas passive trees.
Yeah,
what's the first one, and then I think Ascendancies, and like gems, gem changes, and like patch notes last, like balance manifesto stuff. And I think tomorrow is like 2020 gems, and then we already got everything. We have the passive tree now. Yeah.
Well, today for Balor and I, we're in the future. So
today for you,
like, what do you mean tomorrow?
It's like in like probably like 4 to 5 hours or something.
Yeah, roundabout.
Yep.
Yeah, maybe even earlier. Patch notes were pretty darn early as well.
That is actually true. I was surprised.
Yeah, so it could be like at the very start of the day for GGG as well. They might have it all fully prepped right before the day before now.
Yeah, because they don't have to do like so much trickling, teasing.
I'm so used to it coming out at like midday or 2 p.m. our time rather than in the morning.
Like 7 or 8. It's like, come on, I'm just getting up.
Yeah, no. I booked my hair and nail appointments this morning. I'm getting my nails done and my hair done. And
yes.
And I'm like, but now I'm going to miss the announcement. They're definitely going to come out. Like, stuff's going to, I think it's going to be out for hours before I get home because they're doing it so early in the morning.
Yep.
For me, it's like really good because it's actually when I get up before work, like doing breakfast, I can actually could read the patch notes already. Normally, I have to like do it at lunch break at work to be like up to date by when I get home. For me, it's actually pretty good. Early is better.
Yeah, it is really nice early as well. It's been super nice for me as well, being really, really early in the day to then prep the rest of the day. All right, like what kind of content can I get out of this, or what can I gain from this? I had the whole day to think about it rather than just like reading it like late at night or something like that and being like, I have to try and sleep now. No, that's not going to happen. But the actual Ascendancies that came through, what did we get? The first three ones, the biggest ones. Let's talk about the biggest ones: the Deadeye, Elementalist, and Inquisitor.
Those were
quick
the
round.
actual reworks.
Yeah, quick round. What's your favorite out of those three, Balor?
Inquisitor.
Yoji?
Not Deadeye.
Yep, not Deadeye. Mine is probably Elementalist.
The other two for me are like exactly the same. I'm currently deciding which one to start League with.
I do agree that Inquisitor Balor is probably the most unique. Well, it is the most unique update that we have, and probably the biggest update to an Ascendancy for a while. That whole new Balormage and the fanaticism and everything like that.
I'm ever so slightly salty that Balormage is like immediately on some items.
I'm actually very annoyed about that. That's
come on.
That's what I'm most critical about for this league, actually.
It is. I think it is the best fix they could have done to do all those items, though. Like, if they, I mean, they could have either let them be absurdly OP, because like the first thing when I saw Balormage, I was like, I did just like some quick math about Martyr Instance Fireball, and that was not balanced. Almost 5k base damage.
Yeah,
a bit much.
I really I wish that I could convince myself that profit didn't matter, because I would start as an Inquisitor. It's interesting enough that I'm sure that it could be a pretty good league start, but I have my own set of rules, and like if it goes bad, and if I don't start with something I know and I've tested and it goes bad, I'd be so mad at myself. Like I can't do it. I have to.
You can't go back, can you?
Yeah, I have to go with something I know is good and it is powerful and gets me the things I want, and then make other builds. I have to.
I mean, it kind of makes sense. I don't have that issue. I can like completely fail like 3 league starters and be like completely fine still in SSF or trade. I don't really care, honestly.
Yeah,
but I can see like for a lot of people the league start is like really important. If you want to, like as you said, you're profit driven. That's where you make the most profit. It's like the first week roughly.
And profit directly controls how much fun I have, because that's just the way I play now.
Yeah.
Like, and I mean, then there's no reason to like not start like some of the top tier.
Yeah, that's super true.
Builds.
Yeah.
And you're not going to miss out on that. Well, it's actually one thing that this is a little bit of a tangent, but we haven't really heard too much about the timeline of this league. GGG have specifically stated fairly recently that, or some people from GGG have stated that they really do not want to go back, go to a 4-month league cycle. Like, that's just not happening. This delay is not, indicative of what's happening in the future. I'm just wondering, like, whether we're just going to get a standard 3-month league, whether we're going to get 3-month league minus 1 week for like the next few leagues to kind of then get back over a year, back to the original Christmas schedule, or with all of this content, we might not have even a standard league time to play it all, right?
I hope they just keep to this release schedule.
Yeah.
I don't know how it works for everyone else, but I'd much rather have a release now than over Christmas. I guess that's because I do this for a living, so I don't need to worry about holiday breaks. That probably doesn't.
Holiday is really good. Holiday League is super fun. Like, actually having a league come out right before you have a lot of time to play just makes so much sense. Holiday season-wise. Plus, like getting MTX for Christmas is probably also like something that makes a lot of sense for GGG, because that has happened to me multiple times. And
it's like, as I was saying it, I was like, it's probably just like because I'm a full-time streamer thing. This just suits way better, because now I got to do Christmas things and still have this. But
I mean, for content creation wise, ad revenue is higher in December, so having a league come out in December does financially make a lot of sense.
True.
As a content creator as well, like, there are pluses and minuses to it, because now I'm pretty much full-time. I'm pretty much full-time now as a content creator. And it's been nice. Like, it doesn't matter too much in terms of my own time commitment, but it's just there actually are more people around in that December period. So, there's just a larger audience around that time as well.
That's true.
Which is interesting. Yeah, I think they've stated they want to get back to the Christmas schedule. Anyway, that was a tangent. I don't know why we went on that tangent.
About to say, like,
I'm sorry, guys. We got so much. Let's get back to it. What were we talking about? Battlemage, Inquisitor?
Like, the reworked Ascendancies, which we like best. So Balor said Elementalist.
No, Balor said Inquisitor.
No. You said Elementalist. Who said Elementalist?
I said Elementalist, yeah.
You said Elementalist. Okay, what do you like about Elementalist? What's cool about that?
I love splitting up the 3 elements into 3 different nodes. Most Elementalist builds are probably going to be scaling Ignite fairly well, or just scaling the flat, extra exposure, which is really, really strong. Having that extra -25 on like bosses and everything like that is pretty darn big. And it's mainly just because I think Ignite is my favorite mechanic in the game. I just cannot stop playing Ignite builds right now, and I don't know what's going on. I think I'm league starting with another one. So I was super hyped, like to go, oh wait, I'm not playing Chieftain right now or Trickster. I can actually play Elementalist as well. And putting the numbers into like Path of Building on most builds, it's looking like Elementalist is getting around about a 25 to 30% more damage buff, while also having the Elemental Aegis coming through as well for some pretty nice defenses, or stacking into the golems. Like it's looking super strong. And I don't usually play golem builds, so
they revive now as like a supportive golems revive now. That's the actual reason why I'm considering using that as a league starter, because the only thing that I always hated about the golem supported self-cast or whatever Elementalist is, if the golem dies, I'd have to resummon it, and I'm already out of keybinds before that.
And mana.
And out of mana, and out of nerves also at some point. So yeah.
Well, that's the other thing. We're talking about mana as well. Like the 1% mana regeneration on the, I can't remember the name of the node, but it's the exposure node as well. Is severely overlooked as well in terms of just keeping your mana topped off, and that scales extremely well with mana recovery rate increases as well and everything like that. It's actually a lot stronger than what it looks like. It just looks like 1%, mana regen, but it's very strong as well. It's super nice. I don't know. They just packed Elementalist with numbers, and I like numbers.
And that's actually my favorite part about the 2, that every single branch and path you can take is good now, or at least like has a place and it can be viable. I don't think there's a single branch on Elementalist and not a single branch on Inquisitor where you're like, I would never use this. This is complete garbage. I don't think there's a single one. Inquisitor has the less taken, increased elemental damage taken, but there are some things that are useful for that.
Yeah.
How do you not love the Deadeye?
Oh, okay. So I do love Elementalist, but I also love Deadeye. But yes, Yoji. Why not Deadeye?
I like what's good about, like, first of all, I don't understand like what half the things are like cool about. I guess like wall bouncing is kind of fancy, but what if there are no walls?
I think, how often are there no walls when it matters?
Like shaper, open maps where bows usually shine. I mean, I guess like what the idea behind this is, like, normally bow builds are like really good in open maps like dunes where you like clear several screens, and this basically gives them like an upside in enclosed maps where you also now have something that does it. I think that makes a lot of sense. Like I like the thinkies about this. But like most of the builds I wanted to play as a Deadeye now are actually strictly worse because there's no more damage per chain. That's my take on this. I wanted like when I read the spectral shield throw buffs, I was like, yeah, but Deadeye is dead, so I would like the chain. So it's basically could have buffed it.
Deadeye's like my second favorite Ascendancy now. It looks so good.
It's dead for like spectral shield throw because what was about? They lost like, I don't know, 50% more damage. It's just, I don't know. I mean, I like crit bleed bows as an idea, but I don't think like investment wise is going to make for like very beefy tanky overall build. Also, I like being tanky, and Deadeye is not that tanky.
So no one's talking about the increased effective marks on Deadeye. 75%.
That's huge, yeah.
It's one of the biggest damage increases that you can do for a really nice projectile build. That with Sniper's Mark on many projectile builds, I was plugging in a few different builds. The main one I'm playing with that is another potential league starter is Lancing Steel Deadeye. Looks extremely budget and extremely strong. And Sniper's Mark with that node alone gives 75% more damage to bosses. 75% more just putting Sniper's Mark on them.
I mean,
and means your projectile
good,
split. Yeah. It's going to be insane for the Maven fight because it's your projectile split to 4 different enemies after the Sniper's Mark. 75% increase that goes up to 7, and then you can get some more mark stuff on the tree. You can have 8 projectiles splitting off from your initial target in like the 10 boss fight arena, which is kind of insane. There's a lot packed into that Ascendancy that's just kind of like flat damage. Yeah.
Okay, you convinced me that the Mark node is really awesome, and we take Tailwind, obviously. What are the other two you do? You go like +2 projectiles and Far Shot, or whatever.
I don't think you take Tailwind. Because...
No, what? No.
No, late game, you just get Tailwind on your boots, and there's more damage to get in other nodes.
But you want like the bazillion effect of Tailwind? No?
What Tailwind's so much better.
Yeah.
It's good. I was looking at numbers, though. For the builds I was looking at, the other nodes are stronger for the build I was looking at. Yes, move speed's great, but I'm not like speed. A top move speed. What do you call it? Like I don't mind too much about having a little bit less move speed and maybe chunking bosses a bit harder. That's more fun to me. So I guess that's why I'm saying that. But I do understand about the Tailwind.
See, I'm just thinking that Harvest exists, so I can chunk boss instantly on any build I want. So what matters to me is movement speed, utility.
True.
Those are the important parts. Harvest will cover all of my damage needs.
Harvest will also cover your Tailwind elusive boots, so...
Yeah. Or Tailwind elusive onslaught movement speed 2 pierce boots.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
And if you're a Deadeye, you can leave off the Tailwind and you use it for something else.
Yeah.
Maybe some tier 0 Maven orbed shenanigans.
Apparently, there's a lot of the mods, the Maven orbs, Maven's Orb mods in the actual Path of Exile trade affix list that I haven't looked at yet. I heard from someone. I'm just going to put that there. I might look at that after this podcast, but apparently there's quite a few, or maybe even most of them that are there. But that was just what I heard from someone. So if I'm lying, then haha, I tricked you all. But yeah. Which is pretty... I'm very excited to see them, though. I think we're going to just have so much power. Way too much power. Harvest and Maven Orbs.
I think that orb is going to be very unaffordable for a lot of people.
Yes, agreed. Yeah. So that does feed into what you're saying, Balormage. Picking a starter that could get you as much currency as possible, because there's probably going to be a lot of currency to spend this league. A lot. If you're playing in trade, and again, Yoji, you don't have to worry about that.
Yeah, I just won't find a Maven Orb ever, and then cool.
I was just about to say that. Yeah. Do you think you'll find a Maven's Orb legitimately in SSF?
I mean, I got 2 Awaken Orbs last league, and that was not an issue. So
yeah,
I never used the second one because like the first one kind completely failed, but I never got like a base to like the base items to try this, to give it a second try.
Yeah. Wait, have we talked? Yeah, we talked about Deadeye, we talked about Inquisitor, Elementalist. Yeah.
Those are the 3, yeah. And then all the other ones.
All the others. All of the others, yeah.
They changed every single one of them. Some more, some less.
Yeah, there were a couple
some
of standouts.
More nicely, some a bit on the mean side.
Yeah. Well,
also, there's one bit as part of our notes that says like Golemancers dead, but Caster Elementalists exist. Golemancers perfectly fine, by the way.
Yeah, it's actually like top tier still.
Like just straight up, you can just start a Golemancers. By the way, if you were used to that, just do it again. It's fine. Don't even pretend you didn't even read the patch notes and just continue on with your life. It'll be fine.
I would say Fire Golems are in the best spot they've been because of that extra exposure that you can get.
Carrion's also like
massive.
Just
Carrion's still super strong.
Well, I mean, sure,
20% damage nerf, but it's still strong.
Did you know that you could just use triads to turn carrying golems into cold carrying golems that now shatter and now get the exposure thing? And then ta-da, there's all our damage back.
Yeah, it's true. Very true.
I think golem items might get a bit expensive early in the league. So maybe if you're like not ahead of the curve, you might. But you don't even need that many items, right? What do you stack harmonies, right?
You need a lot. I've been telling people, if you need to ask how much golem jewels are early, don't start golems.
Don't play it.
Yeah, that's what I would say.
Obliterated specters, so everyone who wants to play minions is going to be doing golems because they're still fine, and the price was already exorbitant. So if you are someone that needs to worry about how much does my league start build cost, golems is not for you.
Yep. I think that might be the case.
It's going to be expensive.
Oh yeah. Yeah. They're still going to be a big part of the meta, which does bring me to the meta, I guess. You know, there's a lot that has changed, but how much of the actual meta is actually changing, especially for the top end? You know, like, I guess we still don't fully know.
Well,
because
Inquisitor and Elementalist are going to take over a lot.
Yeah, Inquisitor's the least played Ascendancy this league, and I don't think that would be the case for 3.13 at all.
If it's not in top 3, I'll be shocked.
Yeah, and I think Elementalist will be even more. Like, on top of all the golem people, there will be a lot more people doing Ignite, doing self-cast, general self-cast crit builds, whatever. Try out, for example, like Hydrosphere, some of the new skills. The what's called Trinity support gem. A lot of people want to play around with that, I assume, which Elementalist is also good for, but Inquisitor as well. So yeah, there are a lot of new like fun tools to like try out and play.
Definitely, yeah.
All the beginners
and with all the buffs, or buffs to some Ascendancies, nerfs to others. You were saying, Yoji, like some nerfs were a bit heavy-handed on the Ascendancies, but I disagree with that. I think there was a general.
I think there was one that I found.
There
was actually one that I found a bit surprising.
Yeah, which one?
Hierophant. I didn't expect.
Oh, okay. So this is the interesting thing.
That's the one where I was like, huh, didn't expect that. I don't think it's like super dead or anything, but I didn't see it coming, and I didn't really understand why it was happening.
It's just garbage now, right? Hierophant?
No. It's at least it's a lot worse.
Totem builds.
The biggest thing is, yes, you do get 50% increased more totem placement speed from that, but you lose the double totem instead of one. And 50% more in the grand scheme of things is not a lot. You do get a lot of totem placement speed everywhere else and on gear and everything like that if you are playing a totem build. And the biggest thing is mana. You're now using double the mana than you were before, literally double, casting all of your totems. And it will be slower as well. It is a pretty big nerf to Hierophant totems. But yeah, I don't know. It didn't make me want to play a totem build. I'll say that.
I mean, I usually never really play totems, but from what I've heard from other people, it's like the builds still work perfectly fine and can do all content, like Freeze Pulse totems, Divine Ire totems, whatever, Purifying Flame, Glacial Cascade totems. They still do their job, but they are definitely like strictly worse on Hierophant than they were last patch. So if you play them last patch, you want to have the same experience, you won't.
And that's there are other Ascendancies strong.
They were like decent. They were good. They worked. They were like fairly budget because they were not too popular.
Yeah, really good league starters. Yeah,
they were really good league starters.
It was never something that you'd be like, if someone said, "Oh, I'm going to start this. What do you think?" You'd be like, "Oh, that's garbage. Don't do that. You're going to have a bad time." No, it was fine, but it was never special or like overpowered or anything like that.
No, that's why I didn't get the nerf.
Which makes me worried that it's like if you remove a significant amount of power from something that's just okay.
Why do we think that actually happens though? Like, we got buffs to ballistas, right? Pretty big buffs to all of the ballista skill gems, which is a little bit there. I was expecting like either the multi-totem support to have a little bit less of a less damage multiplier on it, or
They
even
did
expecting a keystone on the tree. Wait, they did? Did I miss that?
Yeah, multi-totem got like a slight buff.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
But that
So
actually makes
buff,
makes the nerf worse though, because they took away they buffed multi-totem, which everyone can use, and took away the free multi-totem. So they actually makes it so like you really don't want to play Hierophant because everyone else just got better too. Which is
true.
And they didn't buff it, but to me, I was expecting to save it and make totems good enough. I was expecting the multi-totem support to get the pierce treatment, where it like starts with a really small negative and then ends up with like half a support gem worth of damage at level 20, like 19% increased.
Yep.
Like I was expecting it to get that, and then that would work with Hierophant, because they also buffed the damage per totem from 3% more to 5% more, and I was ooh, if they do that and they bring multi-totem up so that it's ends up at around pierce level, where it's like, you know, half a real support gem and utility on top of it, then we'll be good.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll be okay. But they didn't do that.
I do suspect, whatever it is, I suspect that we don't have the full picture yet. Okay, it's pretty hopeful, and I do like to be hopeful with updates, and sometimes it does fall flat on its head.
Okay.
I hope.
Apparently they didn't buff multi-totems. People checked, and I maybe confused it with one of the other ballista buffs. But yeah.
Ah, yes. See, yes.
Yeah. So, but yeah, that still doesn't help Hierophant.
No, not at all. Yeah, I suspect something is going to come through. Maybe a new unique that will be best in slot, or maybe something like that. Something that was just going to be too overpowered with how Hierophant is right now. That's coming in. It's a hope. It's also a suspicion, but it is very much a hope. But yeah, we'll see. And we kind of looked very short over everything, but like another big one was Ascendant. Ascendant got a bunch of changes, right?
Yeah, Ascendant got a lot. I think it's really good now, and like for like certain parts. I really like what they did too.
More usable than it was, for sure.
Yeah,
it's not just like a cluster jewel slotting in device now. It's like,
are you an aura stacker? Well, I'm an Ascendant, aren't I? Right, like that's not going to be the case. There might be actual builds for it outside of that.
Yep. And a lot less aura stackers on top of that.
Yep. Like we're still going to have some aura stackers, but definitely a lot less than we had last time. So.
Yeah.
Although you played a lot of aura stacking, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, what's your take on the pretty hard slap of aura cluster jewels?
Here's my take. If you know that you can comfortably make 15 mirrors, Aura Stacker is the best build in the game still. By
the high end is extremely strong still.
Yeah. By a mile. However, if you're not someone who can make 15 mirrors, basically go fuck yourself. Because they didn't remove the build, they just raised the price of the build so much that most people can't afford it. That's what
it was already that before, but now it's like it was before. It was like, okay, you need to make these hundreds of exalts. Now it's like you need to make these thousands of exalts.
Yeah, before it was like, here's 200x, you can make a decent version of it. Now it's like, okay, you want a decent budget version, you're going to need like 11 or 12 mirrors. Like that's how that's going to work.
A budget 12 mirror build, by the way.
Yeah, like that's that's how that's going to work now. Like it's so hard to get. They could have. There was so many different things. We had so many different ideas of how they could have done that better. Anyway,
my biggest qualm is
there are not that many other builds where you can put in 12 to 15 mirrors and still get noticeable stuff out of it, right? So it is definitely a build that if you are one of these people who are like, okay, yeah, I can make basically infinite currency early on, then that is still something you can strive for, which I think is not too bad to have, but
I don't think they should have nerfed it to begin with. I think they should have built 2 or 3 other builds that were also that powerful that require that level of investment. I think having those chase builds for people who make 3, 4, 500 exalts to spend on one build is a really good thing. I don't think removing it was healthy for anyone. But if they were going to remove it, there were so many better ways to do it than that. But you know,
I think so as well.
It is really tough because it does indirectly nerf aura bots. It does indirectly nerf certain minion builds. Minions got way way too many hits. Certain minion builds did, but
the most notable is the alternate quality auras.
Those seem
we,
weird.
we read through those in the patch notes. I was laughing so hard my stomach hurt. If you are not a 12 mirror worthy aura stacker, they're literally irrelevant. Like
I think
don't bother to pick them up. Some of them are 0.05% regen per 1%.
Let me correct you there. One of them is 0.005.
Oh,
yeah.
Sorry, my bad.
Yeah. When I read that, I was just what they did is they balanced all aura qualities around aura stacking, which is like the craziest abuse case, instead of getting rid of the abuse case, which seems just absurd. That would be like nerfing all, like instead of like nerf the Spectre gem because they thought that was too OP. Instead, they could have nerfed all minion support gems. That would make sense, right? No, it wouldn't, because it's like completely weird. It's like just ass backwards.
Yeah, and that does bring us to a topic. Yoji mentioned the fabled word specters. What happened?
Boy.
What happened?
They killed my boy.
It's just like you've been in the meta for long enough. Thank you. Goodbye. I mean, I think that's kind of like the aura stacking thing, right? If with enough budget, and if you can get them enough stats to like survive, they still clear better than like everything else because they have the AoE. But you need like the investment bar is just like raised to make them viable. I think that's what happened, right?
I'm really worried about the life of specters, the survivability. I haven't crunched the numbers myself. I'm not sure if you have, Bala, just in terms of their survivability. How big's the nerf, if you know?
Depends on the Spectre. Most of them are somewhere around half-life from what they used to be, which is fine in some cases, but not fine in others. Yep. So there's two major problems. I'll try and be as quick as possible because I've done a lot of this, and I've had arguments with people, and I've had to open PoEDB 2.5 billion times. There's 3 categories left of Spectres. There's what I'm calling new Spectres and old Spectres, and then buff Spectres, right? Now, new doesn't necessarily mean new. It just means not the really old ones. So anything that came from a league mechanic in the last, like, six leagues or so, or from new expansions or, like, Guardian stuff, like, those are new Spectres. Almost all of the new Spectres have a damage efficiency multiplier at level 84 of 300% and at level 83 of 101%. It is a break point. You have to hit 84, which was incredibly easy as a necromancer.
Yeah.
Before. It is now actually impossible because they stopped scaling at gem level 30 and you would have to get them up to, I think it's 34. We've lost 6 levels on an average necromancer. It's going to be 7 or 8 at best instead of 84, which means on top of all the other parts of it that got nerfed, all those new types of Spectres are starting from a position of doing a damage efficiency of 1/3 of what they used to have, on top of being 6 levels lower, which also hurt their damage, on top of then all the other buffs that happened, nerfs that happened. Right, so there's those problem, and then there's old Spectres. They don't have that. They don't have the damage efficiency problem. They scale linearly. It's a much better scaling.
I didn't really actually know that. That's super.
Like drivers, those go up every single level really well. Except those had in an old build where with your old base level, they had about 7.9k base life that was then scaled by the build. They now have 4.2k base life. Which means if your slave driver Spectres ever got down to half-life, they're dead now.
Slave drivers have always been like on the squishy side.
Yes, they always die a few times a week while you're playing them.
Yeah.
Now they're going to die a few times a map, but that's fine. I mean, maybe that's a little bit over the top, but basically They'll found die. 2 or 3 Spectres that might still work. Maybe, but even if they do, they're going to be doing at best 1/4 of the damage they used to.
Yeah. From what I can see as well, though, if we're just talking the very early game or the casual gameplay as well of Spectres, and when I say casual, pretty casual, like white to yellow tier maps, Spectres are still absolutely fine. They'll still be able to clear, they'll still be able to do content. It's when we start scaling them higher and getting them into the more end-game content, it really, those extra penalties that have come through really start to hit extremely hard. If I'm correct there from what I've seen. Early they're still okay. They're still okay.
To be fair, I'm a general fan of almost every minion and Spectre nerf they did. I think a lot of it was too overpowered and it was fine.
Yeah.
The only thing that I wish that they didn't do is change the gem level scaling on the base actual gem.
Yeah.
I'm a fan of them fixing syndicate operatives to be fine. I'm a fan of fixing pinpoint support, even though I was using pinpoint support and I knew it was a bug, but I'm fine with them fixing those things. I'm fine with them like lowering damage efficiencies. I'd even be fine with them being like minions deal 80% less or 20% less damage or something on the gem would have been fine. Playing with the base level of everything really screws a lot.
There's a lot of affected stats, yeah.
It especially screws things like if you aren't a necromancer and you thought, oh, I would love to play this non-necromancer minion build. Maybe I'll be able to have some support specters. Spoiler alert, you can't anymore. Necromancer is the only class that could possibly keep specters alive. Just period.
Yeah.
That is.
Yeah, it's Necromancer locked now, basically.
Yeah. This change locked specters behind Necromancer. You will not keep them alive. As a solo build.
I mean, you could put support specters into like a +3 minion helmet or something, right? Like as an if you don't have to
support specters. Necromancer to keep them alive.
Oh, that's already on the Necromancer. Couldn't you just link Empower, or are you already doing that as well?
Meat Shield +2 at least, Meat Shield and Elemental Army. In at least a +2 helm to keep them alive, as well as Indomitable Army on the tree. Otherwise, they're going to die for support specters. All the support specters fall under the old category of very squishy.
Yeah.
There's some that They of Tull is still probably worth using. And Arena Masters are now, I'm now looking at those two because they're new specters and losing their damage efficiency as support specters doesn't really matter. But losing charges straight up pretty much halves your damage.
The monkeys are so we're already on the squishy side before. And now
they're gonna die.
Yes.
So the new support specters might be okay. You might be able to use them as non-necromancers, but we're giving up charges for that, which is another like there's half your damage gone nerf. So if you've played specters before at all, I think they're dead now. Like I would not go back to them.
I mean, you've had quite some time to play some really good specter builds. Like if you didn't use that time, apparently now it's over for a while.
They'll come back later. That's just the nature of things. But
they'll eventually come back.
I'm still sad about it.
Everything except Winter Orb comes back eventually.
That's fair.
Well,
no.
I don't know. It's pretty good.
Not the version that people want back.
Not the version that people want back, but that shouldn't come back. I'm quite averse to that version, but anyway. No, I just wanted to touch on minions again because we talked about specters. We had a little bit of a talk about golems as well, so we can probably go straight past them. There were still some other nerfs to quite a few minion builds in general through cluster jewels to the top end. It's not huge. I think the more huge one is probably the Rotten Claws, going from 20% impale chance to 12 is a little bit of a hit. However, you can kind of dread banner generosity and still be okay and get the impale gem, but yeah,
I don't think it's that big of a deal.
You don't reckon?
I think it's fine as well.
Yeah.
Also, if you like already go cold conversion, for example, as you said, don't even need to impale it.
I suspect cold conversion was always better.
Yeah.
And then no one made it. And now they're like, oh no, impale, we're gonna find something else, and cold conversion is gonna become better, and we're gonna find out that it did about 50% more damage than the physical one did, and they've nerfed it by like 20%, so now it's 30% stronger than it was. Anyway,
Renewal, though, I think was very warranted. I think the 10% chance for double damage on renewal was way too strong on a single cluster node. Because most of the time, most of your minions are on full life, especially ones you're resummoning, and tanky ones. Although, you know, Spectres are no longer tanky, but yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, I don't think that one was too bad. And then there was the buffs. The big buff to skeleton mages. They look great.
Yeah.
They look really good. Ooh. 50% more, basically, right? That's what they said.
Yeah, 50% more damage and faster projectiles.
Yeah, that's the important part.
Projectiles, which they didn't need any damage. By the way, they were really good.
They were just a bit clunky. That's like the main thing, and they are a bit like their visuals, like the projectiles were like I don't know, slow to a point where it looked hilarious how they cast their stuff. That's what they were like. If you ever played Skelly Mages, you just like have a screen full of slow moving projectiles everywhere.
This is just hilarious. A very, very offhand idea. There's no way to get far shot onto those, right? Just thinking the skeleton sword that only puts the sword across to them, and that's only for melee. I don't think there's any way. Anyway, I was just like, oh man, imagine having far shot on them, but I don't think it's possible. Anyway,
isn't far shot attacks only, or is it for spells?
Oh, it is projectile attacks. Yeah, you're right. So that was a stupid comment, wasn't it? Yeah. Well, that was very, very shortly lived. Anyway, yes, they're still very powerful.
I mean, far shot is 60% more damage now on range, so which is huge, by the way.
Very big, very big. Yeah, I was doing the calculations on that distance of the 70 range. You're almost always 70 range on a bow build anyway.
If you try, mobs.
Almost not if you try, unless you're doing a point blank build.
Yeah, I mean,
70
the thing
range
with bow
is
builds is you're
easy.
either point blank or like I don't know. And now you're like point blank or far shot. Before you were basically always point blank.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Pretty strong. And that's the Deadeye. I think that's all of the minion stuff, right? Okay. I've been trying to put this one off, but there's been a lot of contention in the past day. Well, yeah, pretty much 24 hours since patch notes came out.
Mm-hmm.
We were teased a lot about a ton of impactful changes to skill gems coming in 3.1 Valor. Ooh, not having a good time just hearing those words, hey. There was a lot that was presented by Grinding Gear Games and Chris Wilson about what was coming. It was said there were buffs coming to over 40 skill gems. There were impactful changes, or they wanted to make, what was it? The actual quote was, as many impactful changes to as many skill gems as they could, I think is almost the quote that Chris said, right?
Yeah.
And I did look through all the gems. I did see 42 in quotation mark buffs, but were they buffs?
Every strike now deals 20% more damage.
Yeah. You know, like,
I mean, strike.
Were they impactful? I think impactful is an interesting word to choose because it is subjective. That's a subjective word.
I mean, all the buffs had an impact.
Yes.
Yeah.
See?
They didn't do nothing. That is correct. Yes.
Yeah.
So I was talking a lot with my chat yesterday about this, and yes, we assumed and we expected a lot more out of the patch notes because the wording was very vague. I'm more on the side of GGG didn't really promise more than what we were given, but they said it in a bad way.
I have to
in a really bad way.
Yeah.
So,
Go. You've got thoughts. I want to hear them.
Chris is a very, 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 very smart man. And when he's actively thinking about it, like, talking to the media and whatnot, I don't think you very rarely ever see him misspeak. He knows what he means and he knows enough how to navigate things like that. But sometimes in general conversation, he says stuff and it comes out not being interpreted the way he wants. And I think this is what happened, because they straight up did not shift the meta around a bunch with those gem changes. Now, maybe Ascendancy will, maybe other things will, but like these specific patch notes as a whole were the least impactful patch notes we've ever had. It was the most boring read through, other than a lot of laughing at completely meaningless buffs. Now,
I thought it was pretty entertaining. Yeah.
I'm still really excited.
It was boring.
I'm still really excited about the whole league in general. Like, I'm still excited to play the new expansion and the actual league content and all of that. But just isolated on its own, these patch notes are the least impactful, most fucking boring patch notes we've ever had that I can remember. And that's pretty rough. Like, that's pretty rough, especially when it was marketed as we're heavily buffing, or in impactful ways, a whole bunch of old skills. I was hoping to use old skills, and I just don't see any there that I'm excited about using.
I agree with what you're saying about what Chris has said in more kind of conversational talk. I think the main problem is what he said in the Ziggy D interview about changing gems in as many impactful ways. The word impactful has really stuck with people. I went back and I looked at all of the actual press release stuff and everything like that of the whole expansion talk and everything like that. And all that was actually said is we're buffing 40 skill gems or 40, like around 40 skill gems. That's all that was said. And that did happen.
Yeah.
But there's been an extra level of emphasis put on that, like after the fact of that happening, which has really just thrown things out of perspective. And
that's because the community grabbed hold of that one sentence and was like, "This is actually exactly what we want." Yeah, this sentence right here,
exactly.
That would be very pog. So we focused in on that, but it wasn't their focus. It doesn't feel like it was their focus. The patch notes tell me it wasn't their focus. If that was their focus, I'd be very disappointed, but they've also done way more in other areas. So I'm just straight up saying that feels like almost an offhand comment of like, we're doing this little extra thing. And that's the thing that I've noticed over the years with Chris, is that if he's formulating a response, it will be perfect. He will never lie to you. He will come across with the exact points he wants. He can do a very, very good job of that. He'll let you know exactly what he wants, and it will not be misinterpreted. But little conversations in like a setting where you're just talking to one another and there's call and response things, sometimes stuff slips out like that and gets, jumped on a little heavier.
Yep.
I'm a little sad about how much people have got on it about it, but I also understand it. I do understand it, because I also want 40 skills to suddenly become actually usable again, but that's not what we got.
That's true.
Yeah.
I mean, I think I actually went through the list and sorted them into what I would deem impactful and what I would say is just kind of nice to have, and then what I would be okay, that doesn't really matter. There's somewhere I'm okay, for example, Glacial Hammer or Heavy Strike actually got a decent, what you can consider an impactful buff. If you give a good skill 20% or 25% more damage, that would have an impact. If you said, I don't know, what's currently a good skill? I don't even know. I don't play good skills. But if you gave, let's say, Lacerate, 25% more damage with bleeding, that would be a pretty good skill, to use on bossing, for example. Or if you gave, I don't know, some currently better skill, 25% more damage. If you'd say Carrion Golems get 25% more damage instead of less, that would be impactful. So I would say, on the context of the skill, in a bubble, 25% more damage is an impactful buff. You can't say that. But there, I had 7 that were actually really impactful. Funnily enough, 2 or 3 of them were bug fixes, not even actual buffs.
Yep.
And then there were 10 or 15 or so that just like looking at the skill itself, for example, Crackling Lance got like a added damage effectiveness buff and like 27% more damage or something like this, which I think is impactful. Like giving it like 30% added buff effectiveness and 27% more damage. You will notice if you play Cracklands last league and were like, that's kind of alright, you play it this league, it will be noticeably better. That's what I've taken from these. And then they're like, I mean, some of the buff fixes are crazy. Like Hex Blast, for example, was buffed. That's an actual huge buff to Hex Blast and Archmage Ignite. I tested that.
Play Hex Blast. Like that's
I tested that as my
hello.
Yeah, I tested that at like on the current patch as a potential league starter, like just leveling on a 4-link with like SSF leveling. That was really good. Like I 2-tapped most bosses during the campaign with leveling like self-found gear, and now it does noticeably more damage. Like base damage went up, added damage for Archmage went up. The scaling with Doom also went up on the hit and the ignite. They buffed
everything went up.
And they double the damage on Doomsday as well. Like if you want to, like on the Doom Blast, if you want to use that for clearing on the side, that also is like that's double damage as well. So that is I would say an impactful buff, and I think that skill will actually be quite usable now and like a lot more nice to play.
There's still a very interesting mechanic with Doomsday and the Doom Blast skill that you do get from that. Passive skill. In terms of there's certain auto bomber type mechanics that you can do. With, with that skill that are now doubly as powerful. I think. I think they got 100% more damage basically.
Double the damage. Yeah.
Very, very cool. I completely forgot that even happened, and now I have to look at my league starters again because it's very easy to start running for low tier maps and for speed. Very easy. So yeah, there are some impactful changes.
Like
it's not 40.
Yeah, it's definitely not 40. Like I tried really hard to make it as many as possible, and even then it's never 40. They're like 40 something buffs in total. If every single one was impactful, we just barely hit it. But
that is the thing. The impactful changes and the 40 gem buffs were totally separate sentences. They have been lumped together in the community's eyes. We're like, oh yeah, man, we're getting like over 40 impactful changes.
Things like shaking up the meta was definitely mentioned as well in the context, which is something that we already said we also kind of don't agree on. But I think there are some things that people might sleep on in there that are actually impactful. I think I don't know what you have on your list, but my list definitely has the double strike fix, because double strike, like if you're looking for a bossing build, double strike before killed bosses as if it was working, and it wasn't even doing the thing.
It wasn't working.
Doing it, yeah.
Like people invested into Bleed, which basically did nothing for the build, and it was still wrecking every single boss encounter with Val Double Strike already. And now it actually does it's insane now. It has to be. If you unleash the boys on 10 bosses, they'll just clear the encounter now. There's no way around that.
One skill that I did a big whoopsie yesterday, and I had to spend quite a bit of time fixing it, because I got really excited with Firestorm, the Firestorm changes, and they are impactful, but they're only impactful to on hit, really. On hit fireball, like fast casting and that sort of thing, and I was like, oh, Firestorm's now viable with Ignite, right? Because we got it changed from what did they say? There was the 100% more damage that was from the initial impact that GGG said wasn't applying to Ignites. And then it's also getting a 250 more multiplier with hits and ailments. So taking that and viewing from the patch notes, it's kind of like 150 to 250, sorry. Taking that from the patch notes, the Ignite portion of Firestorm used to have no Ignite scaling at all. Yeah. And that's how it is in-game. However, in Path of Building, that 150 more multiplier was applying to Ignites in the numbers. I made a full Firestorm Elementalist build guide that had the same damage in Path of Building that a Fireball Ignite would have, and I was like, yeah, that makes sense. It's on par with Fireball now. They buffed it. That's awesome. Turns out that Path of Building was lying to me, and I didn't double check, and I released the build video, and half an hour later I was like, oh no, that's completely wrong.
No.
It has 1/3 of the damage.
Comments and somebody being like, excuse me sir, this doesn't work.
It wasn't a comment on the video, but it was a comment in my Discord. Big shout out to Nito Builds, or It's Nito, if anyone knows. They were like, oh, hang on, let me just look at that. Yes, and I didn't check it. So Ignite Firestorm is still a massive meme. Don't play it if you're going to play Ignite Fire. On hit Firestorm is good though. Look at those numbers, they're pretty nice. But I'm very sorry to anyone who watched that in the first half-hour period of that build guide. Don't play Firestorm, play the exact same build Fireball. I now have a build guide up of the Fireball version. It's extremely strong, play that one.
Yeah. I just want Firestorm to be good so badly because it looks so cool.
I was really tunnel
Meteors
visioned.
to be cool.
Yeah.
And fun.
Yeah, I was so tunnel visioned. Nito's in chat, by the way, so say thank you to Nito if you're watching live for catching that. You saved me a lot of heartache from comments that I was bound to receive on the video. So.
Yeah, deleting a build guide after half an hour on YouTube is very, very different from doing it after 12 hours.
Yes.
In 12 hours, you're in trouble, and now you've got to answer questions for the next 6 days.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
No, it's for the best that it got caught early, and
and
at all. Like imagine people like actual league starting with it and like
it
ruining
would have
the
been
experience.
the worst.
That would have been the actual
felt
worst.
so
Yeah.
That would feel so bad too. To like
someone
to
start
have,
my build
have
and
somebody
failed.
like trust your content and then be like, oh no, I totally like screwed the pooch and the whole thing is garbage and you can't do it. You feel so bad.
Yep.
I mean, that's the exact opposite of what we're trying to do with like our build guide content, right? That would be just, oh nice, I ruined like 1,000 people's league start. Nice, cool, awesome. I'm gonna go cry now.
Yeah.
Feeling that.
Yep. So no, the Fireball one is definitely confirmed to be a very strong league starter. Nothing changed apart from Elementalist getting 30% more damage on that build, so play it, it's good. Or play whatever you want. I'm just saying it's a version, but play whatever you think is going to be fun. You can still play Firestorm Ignite if you want. Just got 1/3 of the damage.
Archmage or non-Archmage?
Non-Archmage, so very, very budget version. That does scale with like clusters really easily, but
I started that last league, right? Fireball, and then I slotted in Archmage and Stormfire, and then I quadrupled my damage just without even investing into mana. It is on Fireball with like 240 damage effectiveness. If you're playing that build, and you're like some point like, how can I get more damage? Try Archmage. It's pretty good.
Yep. Yeah, true. I think we fairly well covered the skill quotation mark buffs. Is there anything else we want to touch on with them?
I mean, like if anyone is looking for a boss killer, Cremation got fixed with Pinpoint.
Yeah.
Intensity.
Yeah.
It was already pretty good.
Yeah.
It was already like top tier boss killing, and I think it is now top tier boss killing. I don't know how you would even say that. It's toppest of tiers boss killing.
Very strong. Yeah.
Like even with the nerfs to like the mana on and like some like 30%, 40% damage increase on Necro. A lot of people are like worried about all these like small ascendancy things, I feel. Where like Trickster lost, I think Trickster got like some of the harsher nerfs, and even those were are not killing the builds or ascendancies.
But it's percentage increased damage loss, and every ascendancy got it basically. As a blanket statement, every ascendancy got that little damage nerf in some way or another. So all the ascendancies are still at equal, well, not at equal, but relatively at equal levels to what they were to each other last league.
But it's okay because Harvest straight up doubles our power.
Yeah.
So.
Harvest is back. It's okay, everyone.
I lost 40% damage. Oh wait, never mind. I doubled it.
Yeah, let me just click this like add craft. Okay, yeah, now it's back on. Thank you.
Yeah. Harvest fixes all of your damage problems.
I mean, it is like. What would be your like top tier ascendancies right now if you had to like name like a bunch where you like this like the S tier for like overall through like whatever you want to play, like softcore trade, SSF, like whatever you want to. I feel like you have the most expertise.
I do think Elementalist is up there. For me personally, in terms of so what I'm saying there is I really enjoy bossing. I really enjoy pushing bosses and that sort of thing. Got a defensive buff and a massive offensive buff on Elementalist, and that's just it's now super strong. That's the top of my tier list, but that's a very subjective tier list. I don't know.
It is.
I mean, that's cool. I think Trickster's still up there, to be honest. I don't see it. Like 10% dodge is like the only meaningful thing it really lost, and the Ghost Shroud, other Ghost Shroud stuff got buffed. So I would say Trickster's definitely still up there. I think Elementalist is good. Like, don't get me wrong. I don't think Elementalist is horrible or anything. If it is only for being a good Golemancers, Ascendancies still.
Inquisitor, Necromancer, Elementalist in order.
Okay. No Trickster?
Yeah.
I think Trickster's not up there anymore?
Not in the top 3, no. I still think it's okay. But like,
I think it goes... Like once you go
was
SSF, I think it gets better.
And now it's just like, it's all
hardcore as well. Yeah, we're all relatively, softcore gamers. Hardcore, I reckon the tier list would be pretty different. I reckon Trickster would still very much be up there.
I think Trickster
and Necro are still,
and SSF. No questions asked. Like in the SSF and or hardcore, I think Trickster is still completely crazy good. Because it's especially with Harvest, Trickster scales really well if you get like all these evasion and ES modifiers on your stuff.
For zooming though, for zooming softcore, I reckon Raider is pretty crazy now. Especially with the nerfs to the zoom ability of, or the consistent zoom ability of Assassin.
Yeah, that's true.
Raider sweeps in under the radar, and I'm surprised we haven't talked about Raider.
Under the radar.
Under the radar.
Under the radar.
Hey.
I mean, Assassin lost like 34% movement speed.
Yeah, it got some elusive effect, right? But that's it.
Elusive is, up and down and up and down. It's
Do you reckon that it will feel weirder now? Because before you had like such a high base move speed, and now you didn't really notice the elusive gain lost as much. But now it would be like.
I'm not making an assassin period.
Yeah.
I'll be a spellcaster raider. Let's go.
Yeah, let's do that.
I was mentioning this on stream yesterday, I think, and I think it's a thought that I had about how the meta is going to shape out if we're talking softcore trade. So it's focused on softcore trade, but obviously with all the new Atlas mods that have come through, all the extra juicing we can do, Headhunter is going to be pretty insane this league. It's always insane, but it's going to be more insane. Also, with the base movement speed nerfs to quite a few Ascendancies, the difference between having a Headhunter and not having a Headhunter is so much greater this league.
Unless you've got the Poison Sextant.
Unless you've got the Poison Sextant, yes, which is a totally different thing. That's a fringe case, but not a fringe case because that's just exploding right now. But yeah. It's so subjective. I don't know. I don't know how I feel about the poison thing. Like, obviously, you can run at 100% of your maps and everything like that.
I think that's
I'm not the kind of gamer that wants to do that.
I think that's what makes it weird, that you can have maps that don't use up sextants, and that just means it's not it's definitely balanced around being a nice to have temporary thing that you have once in a while. It is not. I don't think it's intended to have 100% uptime on.
No, it will be nerfed.
The sextant?
No,
some of the one part will be nerfed so that you can't have that. Maybe the maps don't use
something will happen. Not this league. Like it's going to dominate the early meta this league, but yeah, that's just
people are really excited about the whole. But we can just roll it permanently now. Are you kidding? It took like 15.
It's really tough to do. So.
It's super easy. It's super easy to roll.
Yeah, but it's super annoying to buy sextants, so that's
that's the thing.
That's a downside that I'm willing to accept for that.
Once a month when you buy 3,000 of them.
Or you'd never buy them because you hate sextants like me.
Because
you're a sub-tier gamer like me.
Yeah. What I find weird about sextants and a lot of it's a bit of a tangent, but map investment in general, you basically, especially in SSF, you don't really want to use any map juice until you're tier 15, 16 mapping. Because before that, it feels kind of like you shouldn't use it yet. And that, I think that's weird. So I always accumulate, this juice stuff and then only use it like right at the end once I'm like actually able to do like almost fully juice maps.
I don't know how a solo self-found is a different game.
Yeah.
But as far as trade goes, you should be juicing your map from the word go.
I mean, that makes sense because if you get the money back, you can buy it back.
Maps. Sextons drop on the ground in white maps. As soon as you've got 2 watchstones in, you should be using those. You should be alking the first map you go into.
Yeah, I mean, that makes sense.
The trade league goes.
Yeah,
because you will make more back than you lose, and you can buy more sextons with what you've had. But if you like use up all your sextons once you're like tier 16, and you could now farm the base you need for your build, but you don't have the juice to make the base more likely in SSF. I'm always like, that doesn't feel right.
Yeah, no, there's no world in which you have the ability to juice the map and you don't do it.
Okay, so that's in trade. That's basically not an issue. Okay, I can see that. Yeah.
But those, we did kind of brush past it, but I'm sure there may have been some people who didn't know exactly what we were talking about. Just to quickly clarify the whole poison mechanic that we were talking about. Correct me if I'm wrong, I don't know the actual numbers, but there is a sextant mod that gives you increased damage and movement speed per poison on you. So basically what that means is you can self-poison yourself up to thousands of poisons. And mitigate that, and then have tens of thousands of increased damage and move speed.
600% move speed and 1,200% damage.
Yeah. Okay, not tens of thousands. That's a bit too much, but yeah, you can get a lot. 100 poisons on yourself maximum. Yeah, so not thousands, but yeah.
Just 100. That's lame.
Just only 100, right? It's insane. It's pretty crazy. Yes, so to clarify that for people who don't know what we were talking about, I thought I'd put that one in there, but yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of juicing that's going to be happening. There's a lot of new metas that will come out. I don't know, it's just going to be Beyond and Delirium, isn't it? Beyond Alva, Delirium, Beyond Incursion, Delirium. I said new metas, and then I'm like, nah, there's not new metas.
Have you seen the Beyond mod?
The Beyond nodes are ridiculous. I keep trying to tell people how, like, it's like, oh yeah, it's, small little numbers on the Beyond nodes, like, oh, maybe the area is increased a little bit for the spawning. That's huge. The having one less portal required, that's massive.
That's disgusting.
There'll be so many Beyonders everywhere. That's like experience-wise, that's insane already. And then Headhunter mod-wise is also ridiculous.
Yep. It's crazy. So yeah, okay, it'll be Beyond meta, yeah.
Yep. By the way, Ignite Prolove is really good with that.
Oh yeah.
Because they just like spawn die.
I wonder if anyone's done a build guide on something that would like Ignite Prolif, like maybe like a Fireball or something.
I don't know
like
anyone. I know some Firestorm guy, but I didn't find it anymore.
Yeah, something happened to that video. I don't know. Well, I was gonna league start that, but I don't know what happened. So, oh well. Well, lastly, I guess we've still, there's tons to talk about still, but we should try and keep moving forward. And we haven't even talked at all about the Challenge League itself.
That's ridiculous, right? I think that's actually a joke I made in the actual trailer, where I was like, okay, I had my script written off, and then I noticed at the end, wait, this is already like my normal trailer length, and I didn't even talk about Ritual League at all yet, because there was so much to cover. And it feels a bit like Ritual League wouldn't even be needed to have enough content in this league, but it's still there. And I think actually, honestly, I'm like, still probably most excited for Ritual League, and it's actually one of the main reasons I'm choosing SSF, because of how I think it will be one of those simple but really enjoyable leagues.
Yeah. AFK Bala, what do you think about Ritual League? Yeah, okay.
I absolutely agree with him.
I do agree.
It's really on point. I don't think we have to say anything aside from that anymore. I think he just nailed it, and you can't nail it any better. It's the best take I've heard.
Yeah. There's nothing more that you can say on Ritual League. Okay, moving on. No, yeah, Ritual League, I do agree. I hate to agree with you again, Yoji, but Ritual League...
We got Balor. He probably hates it, so it's good.
Yeah, we'll see. No, it's amazing for SSF. It's amazing for leveling probably amazing for leveling. We'll see. But league mechanics are always good for leveling. Always.
I think it will be one of those, like, you might want to skip it early if you're like racing speeding, as as often is the case. But if you want like a fun and a bit easier leveling experience, usually, like in the past, the leagues have always gave you some nice leveling uniques and stuff, right? And like some cool like upgrades make you more powerful through leveling.
Yeah.
Bunch of fucking comedians here.
Damn it! He heard us.
I was wondering. Yeah, you've got the wireless, so of course. Yeah. Yeah, it's gonna be interesting. Yeah, I kind of see what you're saying, Yoji, about, you know, if you're full racing, you might not want to do it, but it always turns out that league mechanics, especially in map or in zone league mechanics, even for more distance racing, I guess, like say for example we're talking about, you know, Zizaran's hardcore solo self-found Maven race that's happening. It usually turns out that day 2 or 3 people realize, oh, I should have actually just grinded this in the story and then geared my character more, right? I think, especially because it's an in-zone area that's going to be happening, it's just going to be so powerful to gear your character up. Dare I say it? In Quarry, maybe Quarry's back. Maybe Quarry's back.
We'll see. Didn't they have like an anti-quarry thing? Didn't they mention something like that?
Oh yeah, but like they've tried. It still happens.
I don't remember what it was. Well, there was some.
Maybe, I'm not sure. I don't remember seeing anything about Quarry, but you could be right. Yeah.
So, am I the only one who's given a total of about 1.5 minutes of thought to the Ritual League?
It's what we were kind of saying. Like, wow,
way too excited about all the other stuff, and I'm just like, and there's that like other thing that I'll like deal with as I go. Yeah. It's like whatever, but like all the other stuff.
Yeah.
I think, as I mentioned, I think it will be one of like those simpler league. I mean, it is, you go into a circle, like fight mobs inside an arena with like some added challenge, get a reward, and you have like the only interesting part I think is the reward structure. Everything else is basically kill mobs within a circle, which is cool.
It's not inventive. The actual mechanic.
I mean, there's also the Pokeballs.
Okay.
That's like,
oh, that part's cool.
No. Just real quick.
Yeah.
Heist League was Haku missions reskinned. Ritual League is Elrion missions reskinned.
Oh no. Oh no, what are you doing, Balor? Can you stop? Could we backtrack a little bit here, because I don't want to talk about that.
I mean, Delve was already Haku missions and Elrion missions.
Yeah.
I mean, like literally over half the Delve nodes are just like a circle where stuff spawns.
I'm not looking forward to when we get Katarina or Varici missions again. Those are the two I'm worried about.
Yeah.
I don't think we will, honestly. Like, honestly, I don't think they will do that again. They've been like so universally hated among the community, especially like open the chest, keep the target alive. Like, or keeping stuff alive in PoE that are enemy. It makes no sense.
Keep this mob below 20% health for 12 seconds without killing it.
It's so counterintuitive to the ARPG formula.
In Elrion missions, did you get a Kadiro shop at the end of your Elrion mission? No. So, Ritual League is awesome.
I want to say it does actually look good. I'm just more excited about the rest of it that I haven't really given a whole lot of thought, but it does look good. It does look fun. I'm almost certainly gonna do it. It occurred to me that it's just kind of just an Elrion mission. Which will be fine.
I mean, Elrion have always been the missions that people liked the most / hated the least out of all the missions. Like, Elrion was always the master everyone had at level 8.
I loved Vagan just because of his voice and his lines, and always the "let me bend your ear for a moment" was just perfect. Every time I heard it, I'm like, all right, Vagan, it's on. I'm going to fight you now. Let's go. But the actual missions, Elrion. Yeah.
Plus, I got to use him to like literally kill my friend.
Yeah.
Leveling together in hardcore with like full twink gear. Like he had 7 league steps on and all sorts of shit.
No.
And we were leveling in like Act 4 or something. And I just activated an Elrion without telling him, a screen and a half in front of him, and I just bugged off and waited for him to walk into the room, and he just went, boom! One shot him on the spot. He's like, why would you start it? No!
Perfect.
It's hilarious.
Oh dear. Yeah. Yeah. Look, it's a good, interesting, funny thing to mention. Yes, it kind of, we can make jokes about it just being reskins of the old master missions, and it kind of looks like that. But in actual fact, what they've done is that they've taken those things away a long time ago that were just terrible, and trying to I don't even know if it's intentional or not, but trying to introduce certain ideas of those mechanics in ways that fit into the current meta. And it's always with new league mechanics, it always comes down to how much loot do you get and how will that feel. Aside from that, now I did not play Syndicate. I did not play Syndicate, but how many rips really early were happening when people were choosing Syndicate members to betray or imprison and that sort of thing while you're in that window and then a mob killing you? Was that a big thing or not?
Yeah, all of them. Exactly, all of them.
Yeah.
Like, especially if you rank
suspect
up your
that's going to
members.
happen in Ritual a ton. We're like, let me choose between this 4 alchemies and these 4 chaos orbs.
So I just assumed that the wall was going to stay up until I walked out of it, and that I'd be able to, like, the wall for the ritual thing would exist while you're fighting, and then the wall would stay there until you walked through it to break it, and then I could do whatever I wanted in the little window without worrying about being murdered.
That would be good.
That would be really good.
Okay, put it this way, though.
So nice. I don't think it's happening, but that would be nice.
If that was brought to Chris, say like I'm a developer and I'm like to Chris like, hey, or someone, hey, do we want the wall to stay up when they're choosing, or do we want to take the wall down? What would Chris say?
I enjoy players getting one shot while they look at menus. That's really cool. No, I think like if anyone had this idea, I think they would actually put it up. But I have not actually thought that you could use the wall for anything else. That you can't just like put the player in, but you can keep stuff out, right?
I do not believe that we will be given that grace period at all. I do not believe it.
I mean,
we've never gotten it.
I assumed we would because it just made sense in my head. But the moment anyone's questioned it, I'm like, oh god, no, we're not getting that at all. Like, my brain was just like, that would make sense, and I just went with it. But as soon as you said this, I'm now like, there's no way we get that. We're gonna get murdered with the vendor screen open. Damn it.
So the next question is Frostwall OP again? Are we gonna create a circle barrier around us? No, that's too much. But yeah, it's an interesting thing. I think there's going to be a lot of rips to that. I hope there's going to be a lot of rips to that, especially in the Maven race. As I'm, falling to sleep and watching some clips on my phone after a big grind in softcore, and then I just get to see a bunch of people die. It'll make me feel really good about choosing softcore.
The rip clips are always awesome.
Yeah.
Even if you're playing hardcore, you see like competition die. That's also good. It doesn't matter what game mode you play. Rip clips are always the best.
Yeah.
I mean, there's always some overtuned stuff they overlooked, some weird buggy interaction. There will be some shrines that one-shot people, or some of the new map bosses of the 11 new maps could just have some interesting scalings here and there with map mods. There will be some stuff happening. Multi-proj on if you're running one of those new maps and you're playing on hardcore, don't roll multi-proj on them. That's never worked out in the past.
Oh yeah.
Until you know what the thing is. Don't do that.
Just don't roll it.
Mm-hmm.
You might walk into the arena and just get a bunch of projectiles dead.
Especially when they keep doing things like they do things like, oh, this boss shoots out 5 projectiles with this attack, and then it turns out when you roll multi-proj that each one of them was a separate skill, and now it's 15.
Yeah,
I remember doing my first map calm with multi-proj and realizing that the like little fireballs they trickle out of they are actually affected by multi-proj.
Oh yeah.
That was really interesting.
Almost everything that is a projectile is affected, and it's cool. Yeah.
And some things that don't look like projectiles are projectiles.
Yeah, yeah, that too. Yep. Brilliant. That was, I guess that's Ritual League, and that's getting close to our 2-hour cap, right? Yoji's probably eyeing the time, aren't you?
Well, I got like 15 more minutes, so we could still do like, we have like the miscellaneous changes section, which I think is actually quite interesting for a miscellaneous changes section.
Yeah.
That's one change that I was pretty happy about, because it's been basically not working as intended for a while, and that's non-Atlas content can now actually drop maps according to your Atlas, including watchstones and favorites and all that type of stuff.
Yep.
I think that's really cool. Like making temples of Atsuatl, Delve, Heist, whatever, actually useful for map sustain. That's actually impactful. That was actually impactful.
Yeah. All the map reward type rewards have been functionally irrelevant for like a year.
Yep.
This actually makes them all good.
Very, very good change.
Yeah.
Yep. I love it. And then there's the, well, what else we got? There's what do we think this means? The Cirrus can now influence maps.
Oh my god.
I think, like, here's what I hope it does. Yeah, that's what I hope I did. Just here die, like random beam from off screen, people die, Reddit's raging, rip clips off the charts. That's my personal hope.
I want to be like speeding through a map. I want to kill 3 bearer packs all next to each other on the one screen. And then I want Cirrus to just appear and be like, boom, you're in a maze. And me just being like, oh, no, what the fuck?
Yep.
Or like the corridor thing with like meteors coming at you.
Yeah.
That would be kind of cool.
Boom, you're in a maze. You were in prison map and there are walls everywhere.
I suspect it probably won't be that intense. I suspect it will be on par with like, the Elder influence or the Shaper influence being in maps. We're going to get something that is a little bit different, something small. Sometimes you'd have Shaper influence that would have, sometimes when you kill a mob, it'd have one of the slow-moving orbs that would travel, or it would spawn a degen pit or something like that. It's going to be stuff like that. But it is Cirrus colored, and so we're going to have some difficult to see mechanics on the ground, and I think that's still going to kill people. It'll be interesting. Yeah,
I can see him like spawn in and do like the small die beams, for example, like on a realistic scale. I could see the huge storms roaming the map. Actually, I could see that actually being a thing.
Yeah.
Like maybe make them a bit smaller, maybe.
maybe a little bit.
Baby versions of the storm that cover like maybe a quarter of your screen or something.
And then you're running tropical islands. Yeah. You're running tropical island, and it blocks the entrance to the middle of the map area there, and then you have to sit there for 20 seconds and wait for it to move. Otherwise, if you move into it, you instantly die. So it'll be interesting. Yeah.
I wonder if there will be like monsters attached to it as well. If they will also replace for example, the Baron mobs, and instead you will have like Cirrus mobs. Could also be new specters attached to that, which will probably not be viable this patch, but maybe in the future.
Maybe in the future.
I just realized that new specters are not as exciting as they used to be. Normally when there's new mobs, it's always like, oh, new specters, but this time around.
The idea was posed to me at some point was like, wait for this league to introduce a specter that's so overpowered that it just overcomes all of the nerfs that we did, and we just go back to specters again.
That would be hilarious, honestly.
It would be like all the nerfs, like some specters nerfed by up to like 80%, all of them by at least 50, and then they just give us a new base type that's just so good that we're like, okay, that one.
It has happened in the past, so
yeah. And now we've got extra Zana missions as well. Harvest, Metamorph, Blight, Delirium. Extra stuff to choose from that Zana window when we do missions. I think that's just great quality of life, honestly. The missions were getting a little bit samey. So it's nice to have some extra stuff in there, I reckon.
Yep. It's also more choice, and they also interact with your passives, right? So if you're invested into, let's say, Metamorph, and you will, of course, like maybe be more likely to choose your Metamorphs because you have like that chance to double rewards or whatever there is.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think that's I think that's really cool. Like we have so much choice now in the Atlas on what we want to specialize in. Like aside from like trying to do the optimal thing or like the best money making strategy, if you just want to run some type of content, you can run it more.
Yeah. Did it make Zana lab trials harder to get? Because like I don't run Zana after like day 4. Does that the only reason I care about Zana is if she gives me a Cortex or when I need trials. Is it now a lot harder to get trials?
I guess it
would
could
be if
make
it competes.
the pool. Well, I think it would compete, honestly. Like
they're
adding more things to the pool.
But what they could do is like if the pool is like if they make the pool larger, but they didn't want to nerf the other outcomes, they could also up the average number of maps she offers you to like compensate. They could have done that.
That's not going to happen though.
Like the question is if they did that.
That's just not going to happen. That GGG don't usually do that. What we've seen in past with, especially like map drops and everything like that, there's always been so many cases of like, oh yeah, we actually added something else to this pool that made map drops slower. You know, that's not something they're going to think about. Mm-hmm. I have zero faith there.
Well, good thing I'm playing SSF and like getting your trials done in like 95 is not unheard of, and 92, 93 is almost expected. So maybe it's like 97 now. Let's go.
Yay!
Good thing my build doesn't rely on like the Uber Lab Ascendancy. My first.
I don't know. I always have crazy luck with my trials. Most leagues in Trade League, I get my Uber Lab done maximum day 2 solo self-found. It's really strange.
Are you trade this time?
I'm trade this time, yeah.
Just am I on your friends list in game?
Not yet. I'll invite you.
I want trials.
You want some of this? You want some of this luck? Yeah. Let's do it. Yeah.
Okay, Bella's got his trials. Like
no, it's always like I'm not even exaggerating there. Like my trial luck, I'll at least have 3 trials done by like tier 4 maps. It just somehow happens.
I have no issue getting my first 3 to 4.
Oh yeah, first 3 or 4.
That's not a problem at all.
Yeah.
Getting 5 and 6 is the issue.
Oh yeah, that's the tough one.
I quite often get 5 in the first like 3 hours of mapping. That's happened a bunch. And then get to like level 90 before you find the 6th one.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, for me personally, like my benchmark is if I get my trials done before level 90, that's I consider lucky. And if it's later than 93, that's what I consider unlucky.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense.
That's usually my estimate from playing a lot of SSF leagues in the past, and that's what I've roughly landed on. I've had 95 plus happen, and I have I think highest was my best. I think it was 87 or 86, which is really early in SSF.
Yeah, that's super early.
Or average for Badger, apparently.
Average, yeah. I'd say, what, like 78, 79 is probably my... No. No, it would be... Like, if I'm actually being serious, it'd be mid to late 80s that I would usually get all of them. But it feels fairly quick to me, yeah. But yeah, one other thing, actually, that's not in the miscellaneous changes that is a pretty important change is the Master Mission portals. So say for example the Alva Temple portals and Jun Mission portals spawning on the map device. It's great until you forget about it and you exit a map to do a mission or something like that, or there's fringe cases where I'm sure people are going to lose some things in maps because they're like, oh yeah, let's just do this temple quick. Oh, wait a second. I had I don't know, like a nice ritual reward in that map or anything like that, right? It will happen, but I reckon it's an awesome change, especially for map design layout. In my not map design, sorry, hideout design layout. In my eyes, I really enjoy making some cool hideouts. Now I'm like, I don't have to care about where I put those masters. Heck yeah!
My hideout designer is very happy about it.
Oh yeah.
Also, just not having the annoying portals around. Like, if you stack your hideout pretty close together and the portals are always up. I've also had cases where, like, accidentally, like, instead of entering my map, I misclicked, like, a John portal and, like, entered, like, a 1-hour-old safe house. I'm like, what the hell? Is this still up, apparently? Okay, hi. I go out again.
Yeah.
It's weird. So I think that's cool.
Yeah. That's a good change. I think that's a very
there's quite a bit some like tiny quality of life stuff trickled in there as always, and there's also the ever ominous line of we've improved visuals and sound and stuff like around all of Rayclast or whatever they always put in there. So
continue to incrementally improve. Blah 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 blah.
The exact same
always
sentence
cool
every time.
That.
Yeah. And there's always like some tiny stuff in the acts where you notice, hey, wait, this looks nicer, or hey, this is cool, or like in some maps where stuff just looks a little bit better, and I like that.
Yeah.
Also, new skill effects. Wait, we have like new visual effects for Storm Call, and what was the other one?
What was it?
Storm Call and something else. Chat, you have to help us out here.
It's a Kinetic Blast, was it?
Yes, Kinetic Blast. I'm really excited for Kinetic Blast.
It was KB, yeah. Oh, okay.
Nice. Yeah. Kinetic Blast is my favorite one skill, and it works really well with Deadeye now.
Oh, yep.
Can you do like bouncy with it?
Lose the area, but 2 projectiles though.
It's good.
I'm wondering, will Kinetic Blast, if it bounces off a wall, will it like explode and then hit the mob and explode again? Because currently it explodes on chain, right?
I'm worried, but also not worried. I'm very excited for wall bouncing to have interactions with certain skills that shotgun.
Lightning arrow?
I think there's potential things that could be very, very, very strong with that Deadeye chain, chaining off walls. Unless they cover all bases, and they don't want that to happen. But we'll see. Yeah.
They might not.
Yeah. Also, I wasn't going to mention it, but since it's been said in chat, I will. Bouncing off walls like Frost Wall?
Yeah. Possibly. Yep. Yeah. Possibly.
Frost Wall, a wall? Now? Like, how is it? It used to be coded as enemies. Now it's...
Yeah. But now
I think it's classified as a wall. I think it is.
You bounce spark projectiles off Frost Wall?
Yep.
I mean, it would be very, how do you say, like, consequential to, like, have it work like that and be usable. That would also solve, like, boss area issues where you can't, bounce off walls like Shaper.
Yep.
Yeah, like it used to, it used to act like an enemy mob, so you could hit Kinetic Blast at it, and as long as you had Pierce, it would explode at every individual bit through it.
Yeah.
Then they changed it, so it doesn't do that anymore.
Because it was busted.
Yeah. Because you could do just like a bajillion damage. But now you can Kinetic Blast over the top of the wall, which is weird. But you can't spark through it. Like projectiles don't go. So I'm a little. I just don't know how it's going to interact with that at all.
Yep, that's the question, right?
It's a big question. Yep.
I'm not even sure if they know how it's going to interact with that.
If anyone is listening, they're probably testing it right now.
Hang on a second.
No idea. But
hey, guys, did anyone test Frostwall with the chain of Deadeye? No, actually not. I crashed the game. Guys, we have to fix this in 2 days.
Like, that wouldn't shock me if it's just no one's tested it with Frostwall, because it's been so long since that's been useful.
Yeah. The other interesting thing I was testing that's on the Deadeye talking point as well, that I realized I didn't even need to test, but it was because Lancing Steel Deadeye is another one that I'm really looking at that is pretty strong, and taking the fast shot node that your barrages have no spread. Now we were trying to figure out whether Lancing Steel is classified within the game code as a barrage or not. That's one I want to test. And I realized for Lancing Steel, I went and did some tests on just like Brutus with like no damage. You don't need that no spread for all the projectiles to still hit from over 70 range. So it doesn't matter, but it will be interesting to see if you do take that node, whether you just have a massive, just single, basically line of projectiles from Lancing Steel, or what's the other one? Frost Spear? Ice Spear? What's it called now? Is it still called Ice Spear? There's so many name changes.
I think so, yeah.
I think it is, yeah. Whether that's just going to be straight, like obviously barrage and barrage support are going to be straight lines, but other skills that have barrage like mechanics, it'll be interesting to see. But yeah,
I think we pretty much covered the most important stuff. It's not really possible to cover all the stuff, I'd say.
We did it definitely within our our 1 hour limit that we should usually have on this podcast, right, Yoji? Definitely.
I mean, we're also not doing weekly episodes at the moment. So
true. Yeah.
We're basically
we
still same amount of content.
We could easily do 4 to 8 hours on this.
Oh yeah,
Yes.
I could talk all day about it. I really could.
Well,
Yeah.
we'll just try and get through the list in time.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
That was
So we will end it there. After this podcast ends, Bala, I'm not sure if you want to stay around for a couple of chat questions or if you just want to chat for a bit. Yoji, you'll probably have to duck off, right?
I actually just got noticed that I got like 10 minutes or so extra. So
okay, we can have a couple of questions. You know, we can talk a little bit, chat. So if you got any questions, let us know. This is the official end to the podcast. So thank you so much for coming, Bala. And right before we do end, tell us a little bit about what exactly you got going on, where we can find you, yeah.
Well, you can find me just at everywhere/Balormage. That's everything is just Balormage.
Brilliant.
What I'm mostly doing is getting all the league start builds that I spent days and days preparing, gutted by patch notes and being really sad about it. That's my current thing. My main goal in this new league is going to be to get my head around all the new Atlas stuff as quick as possible and try and update our written Atlas guide with as much depth and walkthrough as I can, hopefully, of the second part of this Atlas. Because I think the Atlas guide gets a lot of traffic and I definitely need to get that new part. So that's probably going to be like my main focus.
Nice. Awesome.
Is
cool.
Fixing that up.
Well, check out that guide when it does come out. You'll probably notify people. I don't know. Will you do through YouTube, Twitter?
It's everything.
Everything.
Yeah.
On stream. Yeah. It's a good Atlas guide, so definitely check it out. Yoji, you're playing SSF. Will you be streaming more?
Yeah, I'll be streaming more. I actually got my whole like stream set up revamped recently. I got my green screen back up. I got new emotes actually are live on the channel now. I got some channel point rewards, like all the stuff you need as a 2020 streamer and 2021 streamer. Because my stream was still stuck in like 2K17 because that's when I last actually tried to stream regularly. But yeah, my new resolution is to stream more this year, and so far I'm doing pretty good. And yeah, I continue to do so. So I'll be streaming probably most of Saturday. So like from EU time, the second day of the league, I'll stream most of that. Probably not too much into the night on like actual release evening. And yeah, after that, still going to be some build guys. I'm still trying to figure out what I play. Probably some Elementalist or Inquisitor, Spellcaster, SSF shenanigans.
Awesome.
That's that.
Yeah. And I'll be playing Path of Exile, so yeah.
That's also a pretty good game, yeah.
Yeah. I heard it's pretty good.
I heard it was alright.
Yeah, no, look, if you're watching live, you know where to catch me. It's this channel. If you're watching on YouTube on Yoji's channel, twitch.tv/thisisbadgergaming. However, I may be changing very soon to just This Is Badger. I think I've secured an inactive account for that, which makes it a little bit easier to find me. So This Is Badger or This Is Badger Gaming. It'll be one of the two.
So there won't be any gaming content anymore, is what you're trying to say.
Yeah, no more gaming content. It's just going to be me. It's just
just a chatting stream.
Just chatting.
Yep.
Just
okay,
chatting.
that's cool.
You look like a just chatting streamer.
I can do just chatting. That'd be fun.
Now, oh, definitely.
Yeah, that'd be fun. Yeah. Maybe we'll do a little bit of just chatting.
Yeah, he's actually got like art in the background instead of like a boring wall or a green screen. Like he's got the hair and he's got that classic like sort of microphone from the top thing going on.
Yeah,
like
it's true. It's true. I got the setup. I do. Yeah.
It does look like he could be a just chatting streamer.
All right. Well, I actually am. Okay, I'm not playing Path of Exile then. Actually, so I'm moving to just chatting. So catch me over there, everyone. No, yeah, I'll just be playing softcore trade, I think, and getting a bunch of build guides out for you. My New Year's resolution for PoE is to get a build guide out every week for the first 4 weeks of Echoes of the Atlas, and playing a new build every week and bringing it right into the end game. So we'll see how that works. But thank you so much for coming, everyone. As I did quickly mention, you can find this podcast on Yoji's channel on YouTube, and then after the fact, you can also find it on all major podcasting applications. Just search Inspired Learning, and it will pop right up. Thank you for coming, and until next time, stay sane.
Stay sane,
Exiles.
Exiles.